The general expression for a trinomial is ax squared plus bx plus c. When a is equal to 1 and c is equal to -9, determine the value of b so that the product of the factors of the expression is the difference of squares. Show your working. And so here we have ax squared plus bx plus c, and we know that a is equal to 1. We do not know what the value of b is. That is what we're trying to figure out. And c is equal to -9. And so we have 1 times x squared, which is x squared. And so we bring down the -9. But what is positive times a negative? Well, a positive times a negative is equal to a negative. So we have ax squared plus bx minus 9. And our goal is to determine the value of b so that the product of the factors of the expression is the difference of squares. Now, what must be b, or what must be need to be in order for the product of the factors of the expression to be the difference of squares? Now, let's suppose that b is equal to 0. Now, if b is equal to 0, then the following holds. Well, if b is equal to 0, then that means that if we have ax squared, then that means that if we have x squared plus bx minus 9, that means that instead of having this b, we're going to have 0. So it's going to be x squared plus 0x minus 9. And 0 times x is definitely 0. So we have x squared plus 0 minus 9, and 0 minus 9 is simply 0 minus 9 is simply -9, and so we have x squared minus 9. Now, what is x squared minus 9? Well, for this, we're going to use the difference of two squares, which states that if we have a squared minus b squared, it's going to be equal to a plus b multiplied by a minus b, where a squared is the square root of, where the first thing that we have to do is take the square root of a squared. And what's the square root of a squared? Well, the square root of a squared is a. And then we have to take the square root of b squared, and the square root of b squared is b. And then we add them, and then we subtract them. So in a similar manner, we have x squared minus 9. We take the square root of x squared, and the square root of x squared is x. We take the square root of 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. And so we add them, and then we subtract them. And so here we have this factor and this factor multiplied by each other, and their product is equal to the difference of two squares, because this right here is x squared, and 9 is a square number because 9 is 3 squared. And so that means that the value that b needs to be, in order for you to have these two factors, their product being equal to the difference of two squares, b needs to be 0. And so that's what we have. Hence, the value of b, so that the product of the factors of the expression is the difference of squares, the value of b has to be 0. And so that's the answer to this particular question.